I've got a notebook, and I'm gonna go to a fancy restaurant and act like a food critic. Let's see if they treat me any differently. I booked a lunch reservation here at a Michelin star restaurant in Hong Kong. To start the meal, I kept it low-key while I tried the first few items. And after taking some pictures and giving it a few minutes, I whipped out the notebook. Pretty early on, the waitstaff took note. They stopped by my table and asked me my thoughts, but I kept my cool. I see the waiters chatting a little bit back and forth, and I start to notice a big shift. The manager comes up to my table, gives me his card with his personal cell phone number, and tells me to give him a call whenever I need a reservation. Here's a little bit of mid-mission commentary.
Ever since I took out my notebook, these dudes have been watching me like hawks.
But you know I'm not gonna let that stop me. I keep churning out that nuanced analysis while they bring out the dessert cart. I only ordered those first 2 courses that I showed, so I thought my meal should have been over already. But boy was I wrong. They brought this platter out, gave me some Italian cookies, and offered me drinks too. Also, a day later I get this personal email from the manager. I call this a successful mission. I've got a notebook and I'm gonna go to a fancy restaurant and act like a food critic. Let's see if they treat me any differently. So I booked a dinner reservation here at a Michelin Guide restaurant in Hong Kong. And the meal starts pretty typically. I went ahead and tried the first round of dishes, and then I pulled out my notebook for the first round of notes. The waitstaff didn't really seem to care much, but the plan was just unfolding. This was a long dinner, so the dishes kept on rolling out,
And I deleted every last one of them.
That's right, I did that. Throughout the meal, when tactical opportunities presented themselves, I made observations and jotted them down. But I guess they didn't know or they didn't care that they had a pretty prolific food critic drumming up a serious analysis. So I just went ahead and holstered the old notebook. But then, out of nowhere, the manager said, "What's going on, baby?" I said, "Stop it." But no, they said, "Josh, we'd like to give you some meal vouchers." They gave literally no reason for giving them to me, but I'm not the type of guy to decline such a kind gesture. I've got a notebook and I'm gonna go to a fancy restaurant and act like a food critic. Let's see if they treat me any differently. I booked a dinner reservation at this Michelin Guide restaurant here in Hong Kong. After trying out a few of the different starters, I keep it pretty nonchalant while I jot down a couple of notes. Pretty quickly, I saw that some of the waitstaff had likely noticed, but everything continued as normal. They brought out my main dishes, which were amazing, and then I jotted down a few more notes. While I was in the middle of the act, my waiter came up to my table and we had a chat about my experience so far. I asked him a few questions about the mashed potato recipe, and he seemed pretty chill. Fortunately, he didn't pry too much into the detailed analysis I was conducting in the restaurant. At this point, I'm getting pretty full, but a true food critic orders a variety of dishes. So I took it upon myself to fulfill this responsibility and take a few more notes. In the end, they treated me pretty much just like every other customer. If you're in Hong Kong, I definitely recommend giving Clarence a try. I've got a notebook and I'm gonna go to a Michelin star restaurant and act like a food critic. Let's see if they treat me any differently. I decided to book a 12-course lunch reservation at a Michelin star restaurant here in Hong Kong. This is definitely the fanciest restaurant I've been to yet, so I knew I was gonna have to be extra subtle when jotting down my first round of notes. And while nothing really crazy happened yet, I definitely noticed the waitstaff starting to eyeball me from afar. So to take a little breather, I jogged it on into the locker room for halftime.
Things are going well, but I'm getting a lot of questions.
Quick side note, they had a bidet. So as a new man, I marched onward. Bang, bang. They kept bringing out the courses. I kept acting like I knew what I was doing. And not to toot my own horn, but I even brewed up what I think is a Michelin-level culinary analysis. But then, in an unexpected climax, I got put to the test. My waiter pulled up, "Ow, man!" And props to him for trying to build some rapport. But trying not to blow my cover in a 6-minute conversation wasn't an easy task. And to be honest, I think I failed. No matter how sly of a dog I can be, they saw right through it. I've got a notebook and I'm gonna go to a Michelin star restaurant and act like a food critic. Let's see if they treat me any differently. So I booked a dinner reservation at this super nice Indian restaurant in Hong Kong. After ordering the tasting menu, the staff came out and walked me through all the courses. The service was already pretty spectacular, so I couldn't really imagine it getting much better from here, but I did what I had to do. I drew the old notebook and got to work. I kept it pretty discreet, so I didn't really notice any shifts quite yet. By the way, do you see how much food they gave me? That was literally just one of the 4 courses they brought out. But anyway, as I was eating, I kept on taking notes. I definitely saw the waiters eyeballing me on a few occasions, but not really any substantive shifts yet. But then, as I was taking my final round of notes, the manager came out and said, "What's up, boy?" We had a few minutes of lovely conversation about the food and the restaurant, so you know I had to give him a stellar review in the notebook. But listen, truth be told, both before and after I took out the notebook, my experience here was impeccable. I've got a notebook and I'm gonna go to a fancy restaurant and act like a food critic. Let's see if they treat me any differently. Guys, I'm just gonna tell you off rip, this does not go according to plan at all. As you guys can see here, things started out pretty normal. I was enjoying my meal, jotting down a few notes, and just trying not to draw too much attention. And to be honest, I thought I was killing it. Boom, one after the next. The dishes keep coming out and I'm putting together a complex culinary analysis. Nobody's gonna suspect a thing. And just when I thought the manager was gonna ask me about my dining experience, they instead said, "Mr. Slavin, we have something to tell you." And just like that, the jig was up. They said the entire team recognized you from your last video. They brought me out cake and a card, and then it hit me. Bro. The entire time, I thought I was pulling it off. They knew exactly who I was. But honestly, mad respect to Grassini. The entire waitstaff literally waited till the end of my meal to reveal the secret that it was me being bamboozled all along.